Entering the Mayo experience.
That Mayo experience. That Mayo experience. That Mayo experience. Experience.
Welcome to another edition of the Dog or Pass podcast. This for UFC Fight Night Prague from the Czech Republic. I am joined by my co-host, as always, Cody Saftic. I was talking to our boy Chad, our producer Chad. I believe it's like at Chad or something like that on Twitter. I keep forgetting.
That's a hell of a shout.
There's like lots of A's and H's. You should know who he is at this point. But I was talking to him about him like, you know what? We'd be upset about this card, about how it's, you know, it's a hardcore card. Like, you gotta really, really like fights to get into this one, or betting on fights, or playing DraftKings on fights. These types of things increase our interest.
Or just be European. Like, if you're a European fight fan, this is a great card. If you're a North American fight fan or a Western fight fan, not so much.
Like, if you're Michelle OLEKSIEJCZUK's mom, you're into this card. But the good thing about it is that it's on at like 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
Oh, great. Yeah.
And it's on, I think it's on ESPN Plus. Like, it's gonna be snappy. It's gonna be like one of the old Fight Pass cards that we used to love, right? It's just like super fast. Everything rolls into one another. So Saturday afternoon, if you have to sacrifice your Saturday night for this, like, main event I'm interested in. There's a few fights I'm interested in, but it's not the greatest card all around.
Enough.
But last week, well, before we get into anything, we have giveaways from last week. We have our boy Steve Madden, 1496. Congratulations, you won 20 DK dollars this week. Step number 1, give the show a like. Step number 2, leave your DraftKings handle. And step number 3, we've been around the world this year. There's been a lot of home cooking. I've never been to the Czech Republic. I have no idea what to eat there. I don't know what picture to post when Lucy Pudilova pulls an absolute rob job on Liz Carmouche in a split decision.
You smell those pierogies, baby?
What is the home cooking in the Czech Republic?
Yeah.
So like the episode, DK handle. What is the home cooking in the Czech Republic?
Yeah, fair enough.
Sounds easy enough to me.
Easy enough.
Let's get into the action. We have Thiago Marreta Santos taking on Jan Blachowicz. Thiago Santos, 8,500 and a minus. It's minus 110. Pick 'em straight across the board. Lots of line value, at least from a DK perspective, on Jan Blachowicz, who's 7,700. Blachowicz, pretty underrated guy, and he's insanely durable. I see lots of paths to victory for this guy here. Like, this actually feels to me like this is basically the exact same fight that Jan's coming off of. Nikita Krylov, excellent kicker, guy who likes to fight at range, guy who, if he does crack you, can definitely send you into orbit. No question. There is risk to be had in this spot, but Jan is just super, super durable. He slows down the pace of the fight, but this is supposed to be 5 rounds. I don't think Thiago Santos has 5 rounds in him. 3 rounds at most. Usually it's more like 2 rounds. And if we're fighting on Jan's terms, if Jan gets this fight to the ground, he may not have like the best guard passing and stuff like that, but like, he gets you down there, he holds you down there, he stalls you there, and he can really, I think Jan is the play here 100% on DraftKings. I don't even hate him as a bet, to be perfectly honest. I think he is the type of kryptonite that causes Thiago Santos problems. A guy who is durable, is going to be able to eat the damage that is being thrown out at him, and has a decent ground game and a more or less a well-rounded game altogether. This all being said, it's still going to be a little bit scary, a little bit dangerous. Thiago Santos kicks so damn hard that if he lands one, he lands it flush. Well, that's all she wrote. You can probably knock out just about anyone. But Jan has all of the tools. I see them all there for him to pull up. I won't even call it an upset victory because it's a straight pick 'em from the betting line right now. But to be a dog that comes through on DraftKings.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, he's a pretty good price considering that it's a pick 'em as far as the money line goes, yet you're getting him for a significantly lower price, like $800 less than his opponent, then yeah, how could you not look at that as being value? I hear what you're saying with Thiago Santos, because I agree in pretty much all regards, is that this is a guy that goes out super entertaining. How could you not like this guy if you're a real fight fan? He goes out, puts it on the line, generally blasts his opponent. If you're able to kind of weather that early storm, you're able to put it on him because he has such a trepid pace that he puts on his opponents, and he's such a, you know, a muscular, heavy power punching type of fighter. He tires out. But he's been fighting at 205 lately, and maybe those issues don't really plague him. There's no doubt at 185 pounds, this guy is unbelievably gigantic. Then he goes in and gets a giant hammer tattooed on his chest, and now he definitely can't make the weight. It's not that he can't make the weight, it's just it really takes it out of him. You look at him at 205, his fight with Eric Anders. I mean, that's a fight where Eric Anders' corner is like, no, Moss, we're done. After 3 rounds, and Thiago Santos is putting it on him. His cardio seems to have improved, and obviously his last fight with Jimmy Manuwa, it's a crazy pace, and it ends. We don't really know if he could have sustained that. I'm assuming he couldn't have, but all the same, he's able to go out there and get the better of Jimmy Manuwa in that early firefight, you know, probably round of the year in my opinion. But maybe at 205 pounds, he's going to be a little bit better in the cardio aspect. He seems like if this is a 3-round fight, you'd be way more confident in him, that maybe he can go out, win the early couple, first and second round, and if he does tire and Jan starts to work his way back in it like he often does,
he just has to survive for a 3rd round, right?
But for 5 rounds, that's a tricky situation, because not only can Jan Blachowicz usually take anybody's best punch, as you mentioned, super durable. He's super durable. He is a real 205er, so you know that extra power or that extra size should kind of help him out a little. And
just to hold him up against the cage, tire him out, like that's going to be the strategy here.
And Jan's a good grappler, man. You look at the Krylov fight, it's a sneaky little arm triangle choke that chokes him out. The fight with Devin Clark, a no hook rear naked choke. Like, yeah, I'm pretty sure he's a black belt. And again, like you said, because he's durable, he can often take opponents into some deeper waters and exploit them. He's been on a roll. His fight with Jimmy Manuwa, his own fight with Jimmy Manuwa, he nearly scored 100 significant strikes, and that's unlike Jan Blachowicz to land 100 significant strikes in a fight, because he's generally, you know what I mean, a little bit more lethargic with his output. All the same, I see the path to victory, like you're mentioning, $77 to $100, good price. He's just got to be able to do what he does and take that early storm. He's been stopped 1 time due to strikes. My boy, so could you, back in KSW, way back when. But, you know, that was a leg kick stoppage, and he's come a long way since then. So 35 years old kind of worries me. But to be honest, Thiago Santos is 35 years old, and he's a lot more war-torn from all of his notorious wars. So I think Jan will be a little bit of a fresher fighter as well. And in Europe especially, if there is going to be a hometown cooking, I get
country to country. I don't know how it works, but
I don't know. I can see it.
Jan's from Poland.
Yeah, who knows? I'm just joking.
They probably have sympathy for each other, both being so close to Germany.
In all likelihood, even though Jan's kind of a decision fighter, in all likelihood, this is not going 5 rounds. So the judges really shouldn't be a part of it. It should be Thiago Santos comes out hot early couple rounds, and then if he fades down the stretch, there's no doubt we've seen this guy wobbled. Manuwa hurt him. Jack Marshman hurt him. Dave Branch dropped him. Gegard Mousasi dropped him. You can drop him. You can submit him. He's got holes in his game. He's just so fun to watch. He's such a notorious fan favorite that, you know, I get why people rally behind him. But for the tune of 8,500, you need that big knockout out of him. That's going to be tough against Jan. Flip side to that, Jan, over 5 rounds, can get takedowns, can get 100 significant strikes, potentially. Submission
we trust his durability more,
and a
to
late
be honest.
finish. So, I mean, that's everything you're looking for, and the price is right. So, I see it.
Marcos Rogério de Lima takes on Stefan Struve in the heavyweight division. Rogério de Lima, 8,400 and a -140 favorite. Stefan Struve is 7,800 and plus 120. Oh, boy. Oh, boy, this is a tough one. This is a tough one to really have a grasp of what's going to happen, because... Sure, layman's terms, the most basic way to look at this is, well, you know, Stefan Struve is super, super tall, chinny, doesn't have the greatest striking defense. Marcos Rogério de Lima hits really hard, but he gasses out. So if it's either, you know, Rogério de Lima early or Struve late, it's just like, not so fast. Like, it is hard to really trust either one. Marcos Rogério de Lima, I'm not used to paying over $8,000 for him. Usually when I end up rostering him, I clinch my butt, and we've got and you got like him at like 7,400, and you're just like, just knock this loser out. Let's go.
Well, we had him last time out, and he didn't even knock out his opponent.
No,
like
he started wrestling.
yeah.
He started
like, I'm
wrestling.
done throwing bombs. I'm just gonna take people down.
Shit, man. Like, I don't know. This is on DK. This is a fight I'm gonna stay away from in general. I can see the merits more, I think, towards Marcos Rogerio de Lima. Just hopefully clip somebody if you're going to roster somebody, or that he clips Struve if you're going to roster him. But like, I could see this, Struve staying out at distance, not letting himself get hit, not letting himself be close enough, just kind of firing out jabs. And then Marcos Rogerio de Lima gets kind of tired from doing next to nothing on the outside, but not being able to close the distance. And we see like lots of boos in the crowd, and it's just a horrible fight all the way around. And Struve wins like a close decision type of thing with not very much action. Like, that's what at least when I construct lineups this week, that's what I'm going to be kind of hoping for, I suppose, in this fight. But like, if he gets starts in the first round, I'm not going to be shocked. Official pick. Oh my God. Give me Struve, but like, I want no part of this fight.
Yeah, well, yeah, I don't blame you in the slightest bit. You got one guy who's just very untrustworthy in Stefan Struve because he can get destroyed standing. Maybe, like you mentioned, potentially a little bit chinny. You can take him down. He's so damn tall. Has never that length. And that leverage has just never translated properly into his takedown defense. And the guy just, quite honestly, doesn't really throw much jabs or anything that would indicate that he has any idea how to use his size. And that's always plagued him. So he's super untrustworthy. And flip side to that, you got Marcos Rogerio de Lima. I truly do believe to be one of the least talented fighters in the UFC. He's not a very good fighter, especially when you consider he's now fighting at heavyweight. The man has the frame of a middleweight. He appeared to be fat and out of shape at 205. He then takes like a year and a half off, returns as a 240-pound fighter, and squeaks out a decision over Adam Wazorek. If you want to talk about, this game's got levels to it, and people always like to throw that shit out there. If you want to look for it, look at that. Marcos Rogerio de Lima's wins in the UFC are Clint Hester, Jeremy Kimball, Adam Wazorek. Flip side to that, Stefan Struve, and I get he's losing, but at least his last three fights, Volkov, Arlovsky, and Tybura, are all top 5, definitely top
15.
10, fringe top 5 in some case, but yeah, they're all ranked opponents, and they're all guys that are kind of at the top of the game. He's fighting the best guys in the world, and he's coming up short. Now, I know what you say also, he's chinny. I've always found this very interesting with him. His knockout losses are to Junior Dos Santos, revered as one of the biggest power punchers of all time. Roy Nelson, revered as one of the biggest power punchers of all time. Travis Brown had a lot of power. You get what I mean? It was like a fucking Superman punch too, from a 6'7" heavyweight that used to move like the wind at one point before switching camps.
Man, he was
Mark
a top
Hunt
contender
and Alistair Overeem are the next.
Fair.
So chinny, correct, but chinny against the best fucking guys, man.
Yeah,
the best guys. So now that he's taken on, Volkov got him as well, third round. But Arlovsky and Tybura,
Volkov's been on a run though.
A great run, and the guy that really puts it on you. The guy knocked out Fabrice Verdum.
Derek Lewis ended his run there, but like
he was seconds away
from winning.
Seconds away.
And the other guy's balls was hot.
Struve went, 3.5 rounds. Yeah, his hands are hot too. Pow pow. Balls very hot. But all the same, Volkov, finishes him like 3.5 minutes into the third round. So Struve showed a little bit of durability there. And against Tybura and Arlovsky, well, those fights he's not getting knocked out, but he's getting out grappled, and that's what worries about me and De Lima. I'm not necessarily worried about the knockout. It's possible. The guy just goes out there and throws heat-seeking missiles, but he's a natural 185er, and he had okay power at 205. He did. Good power at 205. But I don't know if that power is going to translate. And in fact, his heavyweight fight against Wazorek, he didn't knock him out. It went 3 rounds. Nobody saw that coming.
Tall, lanky
I think
opponent.
fight goes the distance, or him win by decision was like plus 550. Like nobody saw that coming. People were picking him to win, but they weren't seeing him win by decision.
No.
So now at heavyweight, I don't know if he's going to have that same power.
I picked De Lima against Wazorek or Vicharak or whatever, however you pronounce it, Polish names. I picked him there, but
it was a greasy ass.
It was greasy.
Fight.
It was not the way that I pictured it.
Right, and this is the way I'm picturing this one. Is you've got Rogerio de Lima, lacks a little bit of size to the division, a guy that's 33 years old, didn't have great cardio to begin with, and you look at how he loses fights. He comes out decent in the first round. He tires. He gives up a submission generally around round 2. I think he's going to go out there, and I think he'll probably throw some hot shots at Stefan Struve, maybe try to chin check him, test him early, but I think Struve will be able to survive. Maybe he scores a couple takedowns in the first round, but wrestling around with a guy that's 7 feet tall, it'll tire him out. And in the second round, when he's not moving and he's
who's
standing,
naturally like 260.
he cuts to 265. He's filled out over the years. And I know he had a heart problem and that sidelined him. And then he came back and the game, I don't want to say passed him by, but like he never really evolved. Spent a ton of time at Henry Hoof's gym. Again, it doesn't translate. But him at his best, he's got power. Remember what he did? Nah, I guess you can't really use Bigfoot without his TRT as an example. But again, he's got some power. He's got some craftsmanship. I just don't know that against the higher level guys, maybe Struve's never going to be able to compete with those guys. But this is like the complete opposite of high level guys of the division. So I'm feeling Struve, mostly because he's the underdog. I think that's fairly shocking because
It's a dogger pass?
Yeah, Rogerio de Lima probably shouldn't be a favorite against anybody in the UFC. So yeah, give me Stefan Struve, $7,800 because I could see a second or third round finish either by submission or maybe if he takes him down and he gets on top of this guy, he's going to have 40 pounds of weight on him. He's going to smash him. Hopefully that's the way it goes. And I could see a play there. As for the 8,400 on de Lima, maybe if you look at traditionally, the guy has knocked out guys, and maybe traditionally Struve has been knocked out. But like we illustrated it,
but we haven't seen it. It may not necessarily translate to a higher division,
right? And $8,400 is a decent amount of money if he's not going to get the finish. If he's just going to try to grapple him down.
Agreed. We got Mikhail OLEKSIEJCZUK. No idea how to pronounce this guy's name. He is 8,900. He's minus 210 favorite. Jean Villante is 7,300 plus 175. Mikey O.
Oh, baby Mikey O.
Oh, baby Mikey O is he's coming off that win against Khalil Roundtree where he's kind of able to like weather the storm early and then kind of took over late, and then he failed a drug test after the fact for that. Jean Villante has 4 straight split decision fights. His last 4 fights, all ending in split decision. He's 2-2 in that stretch. The way I see these guys' styles matching up, I think it's going to be super, super close, super dicey. I could very well see another split decision in the works here. And because I'm thinking there's a split decision in the works here, I'm going to go with the guy with coming from the better training area. At least he's spent some time. I don't know if he actually has those guys. Those guys probably will not be in his corner. I know he doesn't typically, he does out of Belmore Kickboxing Academy, right?
Yeah.
But he probably spent some time with Sarah Longo.
Yeah.
So like he has better bodies, better facility, probably some better strategy. He's fought tons of guys at this level, like minus 210 on OLEKSIEJCZUK. Coming off of a win over Roundtree just seems super steep. Like, if I have to play here, it's Villante, but obviously you're never going to feel too confident, but I just think the line is a little too wide here. 73. The way that Villante fights, it doesn't really lend to big time DraftKings scoring. So if I think it's going to be like a close decision, I suppose you can make the argument for him, but like he doesn't have the best durability himself. He's a risky play all the way around. Like I have no interest really in this fight on DraftKings. I may consider Villante plus 175, just a small little play there.
Yeah. For plus 175, like I could see him winning this fight, but not that it's a passing of the torch type of fight, but I almost feel like it's youth versus veteranship, and Villante's veteranship doesn't really serve him well because like other than knowing how to go into deep waters and keep chucking bombs, it's not as if he's gotten particularly craftier over the years. It's not as if he, throws out traps. I didn't think he looked bad in his last 2 fights. His fight with Sam Alvey, he lost a split decision, and I thought he rightfully so did lose a split, but that's totally on the basis that he loses the first round because he gets floored with like 15 seconds left, 20 seconds left. Other than that, he beats Alvey, should have beaten Alvey in the fight, but maybe his chin's not as great as it once was. Getting into these wars, getting knocked out by Shogun, it kind of shows like maybe there's some the chink in the armor for Jean Villante. We know we're getting out of him. He's an all-action, super exciting fighter. Over the years, it's been, hey, Chris Weidman's training partner, Jean Villante, is getting good on the ground. He's a natural athlete. Used to play lacrosse at Hofstra. It's like, yeah, but it's just, we know what we're getting out of Jean Villante every single time. The thing with Oh Baby Mike is there's a little bit of a question mark there, right? He's going to get a sophomore UFC outing against Khalil Roundtree. Showed that, like, he's pretty durable, man. He took some shots in the first round, but he weathered the storm. That's going to serve him well here against Jean Villante because, again, Jean Villante's probably going to try to go out there, put the pressure on him, kind of similar to that what Roundtree did, and that if he's able to withstand that and keep coming, that's good. It being that his second fight in the UFC, he should be a little more comfortable. Hopefully his cardio is a little bit better. He's only 23 years old. You have to assume, and again, only been training in MMA for 6 years. He's going to be better every time. And the thing with Jean Villante is, at 33 years old, he's just taken a career's worth of damage. He really has, in my opinion. And so his last fight, I got this guy top to bottom. I got him on parlays. I got him on single bets. This guy is going to beat Ed Herman. And Ed Herman thought he won, but I thought Villante won. I honestly did. But, like, fuck, dude. You're getting outstruck by Ed Herman. At this stage in the game, at this stage in Herman's career, Herman is slow, especially at 205, man. He is really slow and plodding, but he takes Villante's best shots. He keeps coming forward. He breaks Villante down. The Alvey fight, it's not even a war. You know how Alvey is. Alvey only throws punches here and there, and it's still enough to beat Jean Villante. So against a kid that's just going to probably go out there and have more output, hopefully a little bit more movement, hopefully just an all-around quicker fighter, I could see him either catching him with something or more so winning a decision, mostly on output and being the house fighter from Europe. But the plus 175 on Jean Villante, like that would be the play. Like, it would be a dogger pass, but I'm more so just leaning towards pass.
I can understand that completely.
I see him losing this fight, but it is.
I can totally see him losing the fight. Just, the value seems to be on the old warhorse, but the old warhorse he may need to be taken into the barn and shot, if you catch my drift. You're from a horse family.
Well, we don't do that, but okay.
Well,
it's just like people shooting old Lassie. Do people do, or is Yeller? Nobody shoots Lassie. Poor Lassie.
Not right.
You're an old
enough
man,
horse.
You probably remember those stories.
Who?
Old Yeller.
Everyone's seen the movie.
I have not. What year was
or
that?
Or at least
movie?
you've seen the clip.
No.
And they take the dog out back, and all you hear is.
I've seen like the Family Guy rendition of it.
Pretty much the same. All right, let's move on. We got Liz Carmouche taking on Lucy Pudilova. Liz Carmouche, 8,300 and a minus 140 favorite. Lucy Pudilova is 7,900 and plus 120. Who you got?
I got it's a tough lean, man. It really is a tough lean. For me personally, Lucy Pudilova kind of impresses me in a sense. She seems really green, but she's got a big willingness to go out there and just kind of storm on her opponents. I feel like she's going to get better. She, again, is kind of going to be looked at as the hometown house fighter. If she just keeps it close with Liz Carmouche, I can see her getting it. The problem is that if Liz Carmouche is on and she just goes out there and just wants to grapple, she beats most of the girls in this division. She honestly does, because she's extremely strong. Submitting her off your back is going to be a hell of a task. She can push a pretty good pace. She's a nightmare matchup for most of these people. And Lucy Pudilova is especially so a nightmare matchup because she's just more of a brawler, run in there, you know, decent kicks at range, decent punch output, light on her feet, not particularly strong, but, you know, tall for the division, gets her punches off. You can lure Carmouche into a gunfight, into a brawl. And if you do, Lucy's way longer, way rangier. She'll just outpoint her. But I would have to just bank on Liz Carmouche taking this fight to the ground. Her fight with Alexis Davis, an absolutely terrible fight, which she lost, but I thought she won, but she lost. If she fights like that or close to that level, Pudilova is a better version of Davis. Does not have the grappling chops, but come on, Davis is not submitting anybody off her back at this point. Is just standing. She's what Davis used to be back in 2011 in Strikeforce. With Carmouche, the way she fought Jennifer Maia, take this girl down, don't give her an opportunity to outstrike you. That's the path here. So I think she's going to eke it out on a terrible decision. I think the real play here is just fight to go the distance. But a Liz Carmouche decision, I could see happening. I wouldn't play for either price tag. Pudilova, she could get that if she wins a decision and she's able to keep this fight standing in land, say 80 significant strikes, but you can't open up on Liz Carmouche because if you open up for combos, you get taken down.
Exactly.
So you result on keeping her on the outside and just pot-shotting her. Lucy could win that way. She could win a decision that way, but it wouldn't be good enough for the price tag of $7,900. And flip side to Carmouche, she could get a lot of takedowns. She could be decent, but you know, buyers beware. It is Liz Carmouche, and ring IQ has been a question in the past.
That is just the thing right there, because I was looking at your iPad there as we were going through. I was just trying to remember who she fought. Lucy Pudilova was coming off of the Sarah Moras win. And she took on.
Well, then she lost.
She took on Lena Landsberg in her debut. She should have won that fight. Landsberg was like real beaten up at the end, and it was a really dodgy decision. But so I've seen people be like, "Well, she was able to like stop takedowns from them." And it's just like this is a different level of like wrestling that she's gonna have to face here, and we haven't seen her really have to deal with someone at that level. Like Sarah Moras usually just like flops to her back. That's her general strategy of getting the fight to the ground. And Lena Landsberg likes to hold people up against the cage. Like it's totally different when you get like someone who goes in for like a solid double and absolutely throws you.
Well, this is the way I was looking at it. For Lucy Pudilova, last fight against Irene Aldana. Irene Aldana, it's just pretty much a striker. So it's going to be a bit of a striker's delight. That's what Lucy wants. And she loses a pretty competitive split decision. But it's the Sarah Moras fight. Sarah Moras is super one-dimensional with her grappling, doesn't have great cardio, had been on a huge layoff. You look at that fight. Sarah Moras takes her down in the first round and is all over this girl.
Yep.
Gets an absolutely atrocious stand-up for no reason late in the first round and is tired, and Pudilova just puts it on her and then ends up finishing her in the second round. Or sorry, ends up just going the 3 rounds. Moras never really got back into it after that. Stopped shooting takedowns. Game was kind of off. Again, big layoff for her. And cardio just didn't really check out. Against Liz Carmouche is just always in fantastic
Well, exactly.
shape.
I just trust her to have a much better gas tank.
Yeah. And if
I actually like Carmouche as a DraftKings play here. Like
the one worry.
The thing that we run into, and I ran into it when I was rostering Calvillo in a very similar situation last week, is you roster them, and that was actually worse because obviously Calvillo was like 92, but like, and I'm a little bit more inclined to do it at like 83. Your mentality is, all you got to do is go out there and secure takedowns. Pass. If they get up, take them back down. But just like you can say all of these things and you can see the path to victory, but if the fighter doesn't implement what you think, I'm pretty sure everyone agrees that like Calvillo probably should have went to the wrestling in that fight. She
won, so it didn't matter.
She snaked it out as close can be, though.
Yeah.
A lot of people had it the other way. All I'm saying is that you're trusting on fighters to follow a game plan that you think is best, and maybe they don't.
Yeah. Okay, fair enough. I think that the play here would be if you're looking at DraftKings, money line pretty decent for Carmouche, especially if you take her by decision. The 8,300 would be a decent play. The one thing that could screw you if she does win a decision here is that Pudilova couldn't get up against Sarah Moras when she was on the ground against her. Liz Carmouche might only need to complete 3 takedowns.
Good. Let's get a submission.
yeah, maybe. I feel like Pudilova will survive.
We'll see. Next up, we've got Peter Yan taking on John the Magician Dodson. Peter Yan is 9,300 and a minus 270 favorite. Dodson is 6,900 and plus 230. Very, very interesting. If this was a few years ago, I'd probably consider taking a little shot on Dodson here. But his style has always been his speed, and he's getting older.
Yeah, we've discussed this.
Slowing down. We've been talking about it for the last couple of years now. His style should really cause Peter Yan some problems. A guy who wants to like pressure forward, move forward. Dodson is not above just backing up, being quicker, laying a couple shots, and moving out on angles. I don't know if he has the same speed to evade anymore. I still expect him to be a little bit faster than Peter Yan in here, but like if he doesn't hurt Peter Yan whatsoever, Yan may just storm forward and be not even affected by it whatsoever. I will say that Dodson's style leads me to not want to roster Peter Yan at 9,300 because I know that Peter Yan's been putting up crazy scores and all of this, but it's like, one, He's been landing a few takedowns and utilizing his grappling. John Dodson, super low to the ground, incredibly good takedown defense.
Extremely
like
good
some
wrestler,
of the
yeah.
best. And 2, he doesn't fight that fight. Yeah. All of his fights are usually pretty low output. Like he won't let you fight that fight. If you're a pressure fighter, his style is just to kind of back up. Not a historically a great DraftKings score. This lines up as kind of a bust spot in terms of a DraftKings play for Petr Yan, in my opinion. I think he wins. I think he probably wins pretty handily because Dodson just kind of rides his bike the whole time. But 9,300 is quite the price to pay. So I'm gonna stay away from.
I'm gonna be honest with you. It's not even that. I agree with basically most of those points. In that with John Dodson, he's very hard to. Maybe you're going to get the victory, but it's hard to look good if you are going to get the win. At this stage in his career, there's no doubt. Maybe that speed is not quite there. Him being up at 135 pounds, you would think he would be just unbelievably fast. But again, putting on those extra 10 pounds, never really. He went up to 135. It wasn't as if it really translated over huge. That power that he used to have at 125, again, another thing that really hasn't translated over huge. So him at his best, takedown defense off the charts, pretty good wrestler, in and out of the pocket, zap you with that big shot and then hurt you. But now that he can't really bounce in and out of the pocket quite the same, cover up that distance, and he doesn't really have that big power, he's just a different fighter. But even this new version of John Dodson, an older version, potentially a little bit slower, not with the same power. Yeah, man, he's elusive. He's tough to look good against. You look at his fight with Marlon Moraes. That's like, he could have won that fight. I thought he lost, but it's a split decision.
And this is a guy who's been just knocking everybody down on the way
Marlon
up to the
just walks
title.
in and blasts people.
Yep.
And against John Dodson, it's like, man, that's a competitive fight. With Pedro Munoz, he beats Pedro Munoz by split decision. In his last fight with Jimmy Rivera, again, Jimmy didn't look good over the last weekend, but a guy that was rightfully named the Terror, 25 winning streak, just looked fantastic at the time. John Dodson has become a gatekeeper. I think he's 20-10. It's a gatekeeper record. It's a journeyman record. That's what he's become. But journeymen know how to protect themselves. They've been in the game a long time, which he has. He's a crafty guy. He's a guy that, being at Jackson Winklejohn, he probably does put defense before offense at this stage in his career. And he's tough to put away. So Petr Yan has looked incredible. Petr Yan just puts it on opponents with all types of, submission attempts and his takedowns, just ground and pound. As far as his fight standing, he's got good output. But this is all going to be difficult stuff against John Dodson, because if you try to swarm him standing, you got to worry about that big shot and the counter punch. And also, John Dodson's not the dumbest guy going. He might try to use his wrestling here and take down Petr Yan, score some points, and just slow down the tempo of the pace. Who knows what you're going to get out of John Dodson? He's a well-coached fighter who, again, has been around for a long time and has tricks up his sleeve. People, for whatever reason, because Jan's looked terrific, but people have been looking to fade Yan for whatever reason. His entire career in the UFC so far, people are looking for that reason to fade. This is the type of price tag where it's like, maybe it's worth taking a shot, but I'm really sold in this guy. I think he's, the next generation of fighter. I know he's not exactly super young or anything, but he just doesn't have the same miles as some of these older guard guys like a John Dodson. So Dodson's got the kind of name that he can go on a European card, be on a main card, and put over that next fighter. And Petr Yan certainly looks to be the guy. So give me Yan, but I don't like the price tag whatsoever. No. And as far as the 9,300 and the 270, probably wouldn't play it.
Fair enough. We got Magomed Ankalaev taking on Niklidson Farias. He has a lot of other Brazilian names, as Brazilians are known to do. Ankalaev is 9,100 minus 225 favorite. Farias is 7,100 and a plus 185 underdog. Ankalaev's looked like a goddamn world killer for all moments besides getting tapped out in the final second against Paul Bearju Craig. Guy's got some legit striking technique. He's pretty fast on his feet. Farias, I have not been impressed watching any of the tape that I have watched on him. I'm actually a little bit surprised that the line isn't a little bit wider here for Ankalaev, but it's because he pulled the ultimate apple pie shit of all apple pie shits in that Craig fight. Like, people were counting their money, as they should, with him on top like that, and he tapped with literally a second left. Insane. Absolutely insane. But I think he rolls here. I think he absolutely and goes to town, goes to work, gets a finish. The guy looks like an absolute destroyer when he's on. The question becomes whether you roster him at 9,100. Like, I think you roster him, but it depends on how many lineups you're making. It's going to be a tough week. Like, I do think a lot of the more expensive people on DraftKings this week are, they're expensive for a reason. ANKALAEV will be one guy that I will be considering for my player pool. And I would love to like parlay this guy up, but it's really hard when like Paul Craig pulls off a last second submission like that against you. That type of stuff doesn't leave the heart very quickly, does it?
No, and speaking of heart, is the question if he has one. Because it wasn't as if I wouldn't blame nobody in the world if it was like a nasty Kimura or an arm bar.
Yeah,
it was like, who's small
oh my God, my arm's going to be broken. I want to fight in 4 months, so I don't want to, yeah.
I have a family, man. I need my elbow. You know, I need my ACL. Whatever the case is. However, this was a triangle choke that was not like the tightest one you've ever seen in your life. And there was all of 1 second left. And he was not going out. He was going out in 5-6 seconds. But he could have waited the 1 second. And he fucking
panicked.
And the thing with FARIAS, he's actually on like a nasty little win streak right now, and they're all finishes by submission. Like he fights out of Evolução Thai Brazil, coached by Dita, who is hell on wheels and just batshit crazy fighter. They are known for their finishing ability, and he's got a teammate on the card in. Sorry, why am I drawing up a blank here? Our boy, or your boy, I should say, Michel PRAZERES. He spent some time with just, high-level Brazilian tough guys. And then with ANKALAEV, I think ANKALAEV rolls. Honestly, he was undefeated not only as a professional, but as an amateur. Looked pretty much flawless in the majority of his fights, was smashing Paul Craig, loses with a second left, and then fights Marcin Prachnio his last fight, and head kicks the guy, knocks him out in the first round. Like, what's there not to like about this? On top of that...
The guy looks like a killer when he's on.
Yeah, on top of that, this is a short-notice replacement in Feria, who's taking the fight for Stoich. It's like... It's all written for ANKALAEV rolls in here and smashes away. Again, Czech Republic's not Russia, but they're going to view him as a lot closer than this Brazilian guy that's being the
They may hate him because he's Russian.
Who knows?
I don't know
really
about
don't
the
know.
politics of all of this.
I don't know. Politics aside,
I don't even know what they eat over there.
Yeah, politics aside, ANKALAEV should roll. However, when you mention the parlay, that's where it becomes dangerous. Because like you don't want to bet that price on a guy that could quit if a guillotine gets slapped on. That triangle, by the way, you can watch the replay all you want. It's like it's so telegraphed. You see it coming from a mile out. It's like he's about to put you in a triangle. There's about 10 seconds left. You should probably just pull your head out of this fucking triangle. Okay, you're in the triangle. Just sit on your ass. Okay, he tapped. It's like it just happens almost in slow motion.
Yep.
So that really worries me. But again, I'm sure he learned a lot. First loss, I discuss this all the time. You lose that first fight, probably good for you. You learn a lot. You're not invincible. You go back to the drawing board. Maybe he worked on his conditioning. Maybe he worked on something else. I bet you he took a tongue lashing when he got back to Russia, buddy. So maybe it's all that's in the past and you're overthinking it and he rolls here. Who knows? But it'd be nice to see him tie a couple wins together just to really get that Paul Craig fight in our distant memory.
100%. We move on. We've got Carlo Pedersoli taking on Dwight Grant. Carlo Pedersoli, 8,200, minus 145 favorite. Dwight Grant is 8,000 plus 125. What you take?
I want to say Pedersoli comes in here and gets the win. Obviously, his last fight against Cowboy Oliveira, it didn't go for him. But prior to that, I thought he looked okay. Fight with Brad Scott, not exactly the highest level of mixed martial arts, but he's got a good kick game. He kind of plays a good rangy outside game, has good kicks, racks up points, doesn't seem to have the biggest power in the world, but can win a decision. Obviously, he's known for that fight with Nicholas Dalby for the Cage Warriors title prior to signing with the UFC. So he's got European exposure, has fought UFC vets, has now came to the UFC, got his feet wet, doesn't look so bad. Still developing in this game. I see there's a lot that you could take away from him. Dwight Grant, it's not that I don't like Dwight Grant, but really, he's getting a slow start to this, man, because at 33 years old, he comes from a Muay Thai background. Muay Thai in the States, not really all that popular. So I feel like, I don't want to say the best years of his career have been toiled away on an amateur Muay Thai scene, but being that now he's 33 and fighting in the UFC, I don't know that he's ready for it, and I don't know that he's going to have the time to add those necessary skills. If you look at his record, he's coming off a pretty big layoff when he takes that Dana White Contender Series fight, and he looks fantastic in the Contender Series fight, but wow, it doesn't look fantastic. You see this guy's got some big power, he's got some finishing abilities, but he goes out and he finishes Tyler Hill in the second round. Then his fight with Zach Otto, people are assuming, okay, Zach Otto can't really take a punch, just coming off a loss to Sage Northcutt. Surely Dwight Grant's going to come in here, touch this guy up. Zach Otto is over the hill. He's done. It's over for him. Dwight looks decent, perfect. And after the first round, really, I felt that Dwight Grant kind of got tired. Dwight Grant is extremely predictable standing. He kind of only just throws the same two weapons. Also, he's not really a combination puncher. It's kind of like a one and done type style. Maybe because he's trying to conserve energy. I don't know. So maybe coming off this loss to Zach Otto, he will have readdressed all those things in camp and maybe improved his cardio, maybe improved all of these things. I don't know. But I feel like Carlo Pedersoli is just versatile enough that he should stay to the outside, outpoint him ever so slightly, and probably just score up a decision. One thing with Pedersoli is that he was normally training out of South Florida, which is good scene, a lot of good bodies, a lot of good training camps. But for this camp, being that the fight was in Europe, he's decided to just stay in Europe the whole time. So maybe I'm just overthinking too much that being at a small camp is going to affect him as opposed to being in that big camp, taking on an opponent in Dwight Grant that's at the American Kickboxing Academy. How much bigger could you want? But style for style, Pedersoli probably just outpoints him and picks up a decision here.
One final thing that I will say about this fight is this is not a DraftKings type of play.
No, Dwight Grant probably won against Zach Otto, but the fight was terrible. You do not want to play him.
Pedersoli averages 41
Exactly.
points. Dwight Grant got 17. Like, it's going to be probably a stand-up battle between the two of them, not the highest output. Like, this is a very, very easy fight just to cross off your list altogether. I expect it to go to decision like you, and I lean towards Pedersoli, but I'm not sold really completely on either guy. We got Chris Fishgold taking on a Daniel TEYMUR, the bad TEYMUR. Coming up next, Fishgold is 9,000 minus 250. Bad TEYMUR is 7,200 and plus 210. We got.
This is why I love MMA. Chris Fishgold should be all over this fucking guy. He's got way better gas tank. He's physically got he's a British wrestler, but his wrestling chops is just much better. We know what happens with TEYMUR after he slings his bombs for the first 3 minutes. He's either going to knock you out. We haven't seen it in the UFC because he's 0-2, but you can tell he's either going to knock you out or he's just going to succumb to the pressure game. And I think that Chris Fishgold should do exactly that. Again, guy that has good gas tank, former Cage Warriors lightweight champion, trains at Phuket top team. I really like Chris Fishgold. But again, this is why MMA is a beautiful thing. You got one-dimensional David TEYMUR, who's just, a former Swedish Muay Thai champion, should just get taken down and ragdolled. What he does poorly in that, being able to push a pace, being able to go into the later rounds, and his takedown defense and submission defense is what Fishgold does proper. However, Fishgold's got a suspect chin on him, and TEYMUR throws bombs. So as far as style goes, I think Fishgold should roll on him. However, it's not out of the question that he gets completely fucking starched. So if you're going to play one single lineup for $9,000, he is just, it's a big price tag, and there is going to be some risk. If you're going up for that GPP, you're playing multiple lineups, I think Fishgold's worth having on some. Flip side to that, I can see TEYMUR 100% for that $7,200 coming in here and blasting him. I've seen Fishgold rock multiple times, and then obviously his last fight with Calvin Kattar. Calvin Kattar is a good striker, a very good striker.
That was a tough matchup to come in on your debut.
A very tough
short
matchup.
notice, everything like that.
Yeah, and he comes out, and it's the same thing. It's like, geez, Kattar's tough to take down, but he's a striking specialist, so Fishgold's going to have to go out there, use that pressure, try to wrestle this guy down, and just avoid the strikes. He does. He has a decent initial offering, but by the end of the first round, Kattar's found his range, touches him up, knocks this guy out. Prior to even getting to the UFC, we see fights where they're like flash knockdowns, shots where he takes it and then his body stops responding for a second or two, and then he clicks back. Those are the type of fights that it's really key on who's reffing this thing, because if somebody sees you freeze up for 2 seconds, they stop it, and other guys might look at that and wait for you to come back to and be like, oh yeah, he's still there. You just never know. So he's the kind of
So
guy
we're
that
in
could get caught.
small
And
European
TEYMUR
card in Prague. Like, we're not going to have world-class referees. At
Exactly.
This card.
And TEYMUR's the kind of guy that just because he throws so damn hard, he doesn't actually need to hit you for it to hurt. He could just miss completely and you feel that shit. He just loads up everything. So I could see him clipping FISHGOLD, putting him down. Maybe it's an early stoppage. Maybe he just hurts him that bad he's able to follow up on him. Even though he's 0-2 and he looks really unappealing, if you're looking to save money and you're looking to go big on a GPP, this guy's certainly got a shot. You could do worse anyways. That'll be a fun fight.
Jillian Robertson takes on Veronica Macedo. Jillian Robertson is 8,600 and minus 155 favorite. Macedo is 7,600 and plus 135. Macedo, it's pretty clear how you beat her. She's kind of small for the weight class, and you just kind of have to like move forward, take her down. She doesn't have much pop on her on any of her strikes. She likes to kind of back up and fight off of her back foot type of thing. Robertson's gonna try to do that. And we've seen her, if her opponent is really bad at grappling, be able to take advantage. Like we saw against Molly McCann. Not so much last time when she went out against Marino Bueno Silva. It was no bueno against Silva there. The only person who is rosterable is Robertson from this fight. Just in the sense that when she seems to have a big grappling advantage, like against Emily Whitmire, she was able to do it. And then
that win in hindsight looks real good.
It looks much better now, yeah. And then follow that up with the win over Molly McCann. If she has the grappling advantage, she can really pile up points here. Macedo, on the other hand, it's just like we're talking women's flyweight division with a girl who doesn't really seem to have much power. You would need tons of volume for her to get anywhere near 80 points. So it's Robertson or bust on DraftKings. I don't know if I feel as though Robertson gets the win here. It's not one that I'm going to bet, though.
Yeah. Macedo's super young, so part of me always thinks that maybe she's getting a little bit better and maybe she's going to eventually come out here and show what she's got. But at her base, she's a traditional martial artist, and that's not going to work against bigger, heavier, grindy type wrestlers. Ashley Evans-Smith, I know that was her first fight in the UFC, but that's kind of the blueprint to beat her, and it's going to be very tough for her to avoid that. Jillian Robertson is not that good. I don't even know if she's as good as Ashley Evans-Smith. And that's saying something. She's like a cheap version of her. But she's the better grappler. I mean, that's what it is. And if she comes out here with the game plan of, I'm going to take her down and, at least attempt to submit her, the Molly McCann fight, she shows that maybe she doesn't submit you right away, but she can just keep taking you down and beating you. McCann had a little bit of hype. She was the European prospect. I think she was the former Cage Warriors champion. People really liked her. They called her the meatball. She was short. She was stocky. They figured it was going to be hard to take her down. And Jillian Robertson made her look bad. Emily Whitmire, turns out, is actually a really good grappler. Trains out of a good camp. Is an ever-improving fighter. She submits Emily Whitmire with this sneaky little armbar, I guess. Her loss on The Ultimate Fighter came to fucking Barb Honchak, the former Invicta champ. Whoa, what was that, Paul? At least Jillian Robinson's kind of been around and experienced that. Trains on American Top Team. I'm sure she's making improvements as well. But she's going to have to rely on getting that takedown. And if she does, could she submit Macedo? Very possible. But I would think, just like Ashley Evans-Smith, out-muscle this girl, out-power this girl, and just chip away at her. Get that ground and pound going. Hurt her. And either try to force a late stoppage. If she gives you the opportunity to submit her, then take it. But if not, just keep taking her down, rinse and repeat, defeating her. I agree. The only play here would be Robertson, but $8,600 seems like it's a big price tag for what could be a slow-paced snoozer.
Yeah, that is the issue, 100%. Because you'd need her to get the finish essentially, at least like a second round finish to be really returning value for you. But yeah, I can't really figure out any way that Macedo would make any sense unless you're playing 150 lineups, in which case you're probably playing everybody on the card and you're probably not even listening to me and Cody because we like to whittle it down. We got next up, we got Polo Reyes taking on Damir Hadzovic. This is very, very interesting on DraftKings because the pricing is way off. It creates a leverage spot for us. Polo Reyes is 8,800, but he's a plus 100 underdog. Money's been coming in on Damir Hadzovic all week. Hadzovic is 7,400 and minus 120. I do kind of look at this one as a straight pick'em type of thing. Polo Reyes.
Yeah, whoever gets their game going early.
Polo Reyes is one, super durable. Two, he's super aggressive, man. But like when you look at the people he's beaten, Matt the Steamroller Favrola and so on and so forth, like he hasn't fought the highest level of guys. Hadzovic, on the other hand, came in against
He came in against Taysumov when he got completely starched up, and then he took on Marcin Held.
That was the next one.
Really no favors in your second fight in the UFC.
For sure. Like I don't think he's bad by any stretch, but it's a straight pick 'em, and everybody is going to see those odds and they're going to roster Damir Hadzovic. This creates an awesome leverage spot because I actually do expect this to be a very, very high octane fight between the two of them.
Yeah.
Polo Reyes doesn't know how to like fight like a slow paced snoozer type of style. I'm considering making a stand on this and playing Reyes because I just imagine that he's going to be super low owned. I know that you're going completely against the odds value, completely against all of that. We were flying Marco Polo Reyes, a Mexican dude, over to the Czech Republic. Maybe I'm going to wait until we really see the weigh-in, see that everything kind of looks like it's adding up. But Hadzovic is going to be super owned. If you're this is like a game theory play where we have like if you see it as like a coin flip, but 50% of people are going to be on Hadzovic because of the odds, and 20 or 18% are going to be on Polo Reyes. It's a coin flip, and you're icing out 50% of the player pool by taking the other side.
See, okay, I want to agree with you because you 100% are right. But in the same breath, sometimes it just doesn't play out that way. And I look at last week with Andre Fili. He's $7,400. It's a great price tag. You know everyone's going to be playing this guy. How could they not be playing this guy? But he goes out there and he actually has a good fight, right? He goes out there,
sure,
as the underdog. He pays off well.
Sure, it doesn't play out. That's why it's a coin flip.
Exactly. This is the same.
Well, it's a coin flip spot.
But it's an awesome spot because you can get Hadzovic for $7,400 and he might get you a first round knockout. But if you avoid it because it's like, I'm going to try to play against the ownership, it could play out great. It could definitely play out great. However, he could help out a lot of rosters.
Sure, but everybody
of his price and his ceiling.
Sure, but that's the risk that you take. But the thing is, if Hadzovic doesn't, if he ends up losing in the first round or second round, 50% of the field is gone. You don't have to worry about that, like all of those people. Like, he's going to be so owned, especially like we haven't seen a pricing mistake like this in a long time. I don't know. I guess when we make our roster with each other, maybe the Polo Reyes rosters will be my own personal ones, not the ones that we're doing together here. But
you're gonna play him for $8,800.
I know he's super
price tag.
He's super overpriced, but I think he's
against the.
But I know, but that all works in my favor.
Yeah, but you're gonna take somebody else that's shit. You're gonna take somebody else that's shit down the card because you had to spend too much money in this spot. You'll fade somebody.
We have Diego Ferreira coming up in 2 fights. He's 7,500. Boom, easy, done.
Fair.
It's a very I think it's a coin flip. I think it's super tough to call.
But who do you think wins?
Leaning towards Polo Reyes, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah, okay.
I'm going against the steam.
Yeah, I think Hadzovic catches him. The way to beat Hadzovic is take him down. We know that. Take this guy down. As far as stand-up goes, man, he's a tyrant, and he's starting to make people pay. Nick Hine's not on his game anymore. Doesn't really have those grappling chops anymore. Stands Hadzovic. Gets beat up by Hadzovic. Was lucky to get that split decision loss, to be honest. But Hadzovic's dangerous stand-up. And the thing with Polo Reyes is that as tough as this guy is, he fights the absolute lowest level of fighters in the UFC when he's winning. The one time he tried to step up against James Vick, he lasted less than 2.5 minutes, and he's 34 years old. So I could see him going out and getting starched. And there's a guy here.
James Vick's a top 10 guy, or close to it.
Where would you rate James Vick's power at? In terms of the division, is he a power puncher? Is he a big power guy? No, but he fucked Polo Reyes up pretty quick now, didn't he?
He'd fuck Damir Hadzovic up too.
Now, listen. James Vick's 6'3" and Hadzovic's like 5'11". But Hadzovic fights long. He's got big power, and he's one of those guys that he's flashy. He's got big knees. He's got decent right hand, big overhand right. decent left hook. He can make it work. He can make it work, and he's a great price tag. I think that's why he's going to be highly owned, because
Everyone's going to own him.
Most people probably look
Everyone's
at
gonna
exactly
own him.
that. He's an even money fight, and this guy is a extremely great value
The
play.
leverage play on the card.
It's this week's Andre Fili.
It's whether you have the cojones to play Marco Polo. But hey, we'll talk about that later in the week. We got Michel Prazeres taking on Ismail Naurdiev. Michel Prazeres 9,400 and a minus 420 favorite. Naurdiev is 6,800 and a plus 335. This Ismail guy, his highlights look pretty exciting. Lots of spinning kicks. Super exciting. Like
His striking is awesome.
his striking is
awesome.
pretty sweet. But you know me, I'm a Prazeres truther. I think
That is true.
Ismail guy doesn't look too bad, and even like his ground and pound from top, like he's super aggressive. Like the guy looks like fun, but like talk about a tough spot to step into against a literal fire hydrant, literal fire hydrant who has been getting better, smarter. He approaches the game better. He seems to follow a smart path to victory in his most recent performances. Like it feels like Michel Prazeres, now that he doesn't have to worry about making 155, because he was never making 155. He was just always blowing it.
He was fighting.
Now that he's actually
fighting
doing,
guys that were making 150.
it feels like the
He
guy's
was
actually
not
taking his
150.
career seriously for like the first time in forever. And the guy's 26-2, and like he's fought some guys at this point. Like
He's got a fucking 8-fight winning streak in the UFC.
yeah, he's supposed to take on
he's no
Ramazan
joke.
Ameev in this spot. Now that would have
Yeah.
been a different type of stylistic matchup. Ameev tough to take down. Like they probably would have ended up being a striking affair. Ameev's a really, really good point fighter. That would have been a real dodgy one here. I think he Prazeres him. He just tractors forward, pushes him up against the cage, takes him down, finds a like a Kimura or a guillotine or something like that.
Yeah, no, you are a Prazeres truther, and you brought me over to your side because I was a Fabinski truther. I was like, listen, Fabinski's flat, not round, and you were like, no, man, Traitor is round, and you're 100% right. I see the light now, and that this guy does not get old. I don't know what it is. There must be some type of fountain of youth he's drinking from, but he stays at the exact same level, and he's not beating the best guys, but an 8-fight winning streak, bro. This is, you know how impressive that is at this level. His wins, again, beating guys that are younger than him, that are faster than him, or on paper better wrestlers than him, or will be better strikers than him. He just finds a way to win. And similar to the other fire hydrants of his time, the Francisco Trinaldos or the Gleison Tibau's, like he's super well rounded. He's a BJJ black belt. Being that he's only 5'7", taking him down is one hell of a task. If he gets you down, sweeping him or getting back up, one hell of a task. Nasty big right hand on him, good chin. His cardio was the one thing. But at 170, it's like, yeah, he didn't look great against Zach Otto, but Otto's known for his pace, his pressure, being able to put it on guys. That was the key to that fight right there. Oh, Zach Otto's just going to tire old Traitor out. No, Traitor hangs with him the whole way, and then Fabinski catches him and chokes him out. Him versus Ameev would have been super interesting, like you said, because Ameev is a much bigger guy who's going to try to pressure him, tire him down. Now he's getting a guy who's known as the Austrian Wonder Boy. He's just like a poor man's European Stephen Thompson. He's got super flashy kicks all day. The key to that fight there is that he fights an ACB, I think it was mid last year, against Ismael de Jesus. Ismael de Jesus is the former Shudo champ. Ismael de Jesus is a big plotting motherfucker. In many ways, he reminds me of Prazeres. He's a lot taller than Prazeres, but he's a thick, durable guy. He's able to just back this kid up. This kid's his flashy striking is really only effective when he's coming forward. Mm-hmm. And against mid-level European competition, and he's fought a lot of cans, Paul. That's why he's got such a nice looking record. Yeah. They don't know what to do. They stand there and they're dazzled by it.
And they eat a head kick.
And then he boots them in the face, and that's the end of it. But when Ismael de Jesus goes in there, he just backs this kid up. He just comes at him. This kid doesn't fight nearly as good on his back foot. What do you think Prazeres is going to do? Mm-hmm. He's going to back this fucking kid up. He's going to chop away with the leg kicks. And the second he sees that opportunity to take him down, he's going to take him down. Remember that Mads Burnell fight? Burnell was like a young, unheralded but very hyped prospect who's just known for his grappling. And it was like, why is he fighting a guy like Prazeres? Prazeres is like cancer to a young prospect. And he just made him look way out of place, beats him. Burnell ends up being not that bad. This kid might not be that bad. But fighting Prazeres on short notice in your debut is a recipe for disaster. And he just doesn't have the style to catch this guy and knock him out really quick. It should be a bad night for him. So Prazeres 9,400. Listen, he's the biggest favorite on the card. He's a huge price tag. You don't need me to tell you why he should be the big favorite here. So in that regard, maybe it's a little bit worrisome, but
he's been smashing.
But
recently.
He's been looking really good lately. So if you've got the money, again, he's taking on a short notice replacement who just feeds right into his hand as far as style goes.
Fair enough. We move on. We've got Rustam Tiger Khabilov taking on Diego Ferreira or Carlos Diego Ferreira. I guess he's dropped the Carlos. CDF, our boy. We got Khabilov is 8,700 minus 145 favorite. Diego Ferreira is 7,500 plus 125. I'm surprised by this. I'm full out surprised by this. Like Khabilov, he was a guy with lots of promise when he was first kind of cracking in, like spinning kick on Jorge Masvidal.
Man, Suplex City, Vince Pichel,
dude,
Yancy Medeiros.
The highlights were real. Like we're just
wins.
adding up, and you're like, this guy could be a real problem. He's training out with Greg Jackson's at the time. It was like onwards and upwards. This guy's a real prospect, and it's just like he's started to really slide, and he just doesn't look like the same guy anymore.
The defining moment. He would have beaten Benson Henderson had that been a 3-round fight.
Yeah.
But in the 4th round, he cracked, and he has not been the same guy since.
Nope.
It's weird that most guys, it's like, oh, he got knocked out and he changed his game. It's like, this guy got choked out, got tired and choked out, and changed his game.
Yep.
He does not do that anymore. He's a completely different fighter.
No, he doesn't really. You don't see the flashy striking techniques because, like, when he was such a good wrestler that it's just like, if somebody manages to take me down, take my back, like I'm gonna get back up, so I can throw all of this type of crazy stuff out there.
Taking him down was a hell of a task, man.
Exactly. So it's just like he was able to do it, but he's kind of got away from that. He tries to suck people up against the cage. I think this is just all around a bad stylistic matchup for him. Carlos Diego Ferreira is a better striker. I know Carlos Diego Ferreira. We were there actually at the event here in Toronto. We took on Kyle Nelson. Kyle Nelson came in on short notice. He didn't look at very much tape against Kyle Nelson. He looked really bad in round 1. Like round 1 was not. Kyle Nelson was landing on him.
Well, that's why he's
on and so forth.
That's why he's the underdog.
Sure, but then he got it all together, came back, and in round 2 finished him off.
It's a short notice 45er.
Rustam Khabilov
is coming. Finds a way to win.
He should have lost to Cajun Johnson.
He should have. Ooh,
dude,
good thing he didn't.
Split decision win over Cajun Johnson.
An undeserved split decision win.
And then they were just like, oh, hey, Cajun, you know how we've been matching you up against all these Russians recently? You're out, dude. Like they were trying to get that guy out of the organization. Finally, he actually wins a fight, gets robbed, and they cut him. Like it is what it is. Yeah. But I think this is like Rustam Khabilov takes him to the ground. It's like, who has the better jits is CDF.
The 3rd degree black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu has the better jits.
So like he'll be able to threaten from there. Khabilov is going to try to take him down.
Is he going to submit Khabilov?
I don't think he's going to submit him, but like maybe he just like, sets up a submission to get a scramble so he can get back to his feet.
Grappler. Yeah.
I like Ferreira here. At least with Ferreira, I feel good about getting like 3 rounds out of him. I don't see Khabilov finishing him.
Yeah.
So worst case scenario, Ferreira loses, but he scores like 30, 35 points, and unless he
scores against Khabilov.
Unless he just gets blanketed. I don't know. I think I like Ferreira a lot in this spot. So 7,500, sign me up. I'll be playing Ferreira plus 125 as well.
Yeah, I got to agree. The price is just right on him. $7,500. You got a guy that can really do it all. He's awesome off his back. If he gets on top of you, good night. And his striking's come a long way. Like he just chucks bombs at you. But when you're that good on the ground, you can get away with it. His 2 losses in the UFC being Beneil Dariush and Dustin Poirier really goes to show like how unbelievably good this guy is. He fights the best guys for the most part, and His fight with Olivier Aubé-Mercier was like, damn, this guy's gonna be for real. They test positive for steroids. So 2 years off, coming back, it's like, how good is he realistically gonna be? Seemed okay in his first fight against Kyle Nelson, not so much.
Tough spot though.
Yeah,
like you don't
he's
know.
34 years old. He's a little bit older. It is a tough spot.
Like unless you call our boy Cody Saftic over here and say you got the tape on Kyle Nelson. Like it's not just like it's all over the internet finding.
Yeah.
Getting ready for that type of spot.
I agree, but at the same time, you're taking on a guy that is a natural 145 pounder on short notice.
Yep.
Yeah, he caught you off guard. But if Khabilov decides to actually let his strikes go, this is a guy that caught George Masvidal off guard. I could see the merit here. The thing with Khabilov is that it really is a telltale when you look at his current winning streak, which is unbelievable, by the way, a 6-fight winning streak. But Norman Park, no longer with the UFC. Chris Wade, no longer with the UFC. Leandro Silva, no longer with the UFC. Jason Sago. Des Green is 1-3. He's got a fight coming up with Ross Pearson. Safe to assume if he loses, he's gone. And Cajun Johnson, who, as you alluded to, caught. Probably lost that fight. May have lost that Des Green fight too. I did not think so, but competitive. These guys are in competitive fights with him. He's squeaking them out, and then they're subsequently getting cut. Not a good look. Listed at being 32 years old. They list him as 32. Not 32. Okay? A little bit older than that. And you can fucking see that, man. His fights are all going downwards. He is in, they're telling you that he's born in 1986. He's in the prime of his life. I don't really believe that. I believe that he's a guy that slowed his pace down because, as other Russian fighters do, they revert to that Sambo background, hold you against the cage, peel you down, kind of like a Khabib style. It's not really, it doesn't really take much toll on your body. You can do it for longer. That's what Khabilov's trying to do. And as a result, he's winning close enough decisions against mid to low level fighters. And Ferreira is not that, you know? The problem is that if Khabilov wants Ferreira down, he should be able to get him down. And if he gets Ferreira down, he should be able to hold him down. And if it does stay striking, Ferreira should be able to just outpoint him. You know, I think he's a little bit of a better striker, but Khabilov's got good boxing, and he'll only use his boxing long enough to set up a takedown. There's a reason he's on a 6-fight winning streak. He knows how to win fights. But almost losing to Cajun Johnson in a fight that was set up for you to boot Cajun Johnson out of the UFC, very uninspiring. Mm-hmm. And I got to assume that he is nearing the end of his career, and you should probably avoid Rustam Khabilov, especially for $8,700.
Finally, we have Damir Ismagulov taking on Yoel. It's probably like Yoel, because he's from Spain. Alvarez. Ismagulov is 9,200 minus 250 favorite. Alvarez is 7,000 and plus 210. Ismagulov, first fight in the UFC, took on Josh Gorges, or it's not Josh, that's a hockey player. Something Gorges. Alexander Gorges?
Gorges.
Yeah. Took him down, scored 84 points. You saw the type of style that scores a bunch with him, which is it was at least refreshing. He didn't really quite hit value because he was around the same price last time as well. But at least he was able to kind of stick to that game plan, the takedown. The problem is that his opponent just couldn't get up. So that it is what it is. I haven't actually watched tape on Alvarez yet, but the guy is seemingly a submission guy, a submission wizard. Playing those types of games, like when people talk to me, and now I'm obviously the biggest Khabib truther on earth. When people say like, well, Tony's got the style, he's gonna have all these, he's gonna throw up the submissions, he's gonna make, just like, if you want to play I'm gonna throw up a submission game from bottom against these Russian wrestlers, you're screwed.
ANKALAEV.
Yeah, but he seems to be more of
These guys are not above shit in the bag.
His striking game seems to be the best part of his game.
I'll give you one thing. Khabib has never shit in the bed.
No.
Ever. But all these other guys got losses. They have, at some point or another, dove in headfirst into a triangle choke. And that's what worries me. I think he rolls here. One thing that really worries me is, why is he only a 250? Mm-hmm. Why is the line sitting there?
Well, the other guy's 15-1, and he's got a ton of submission victories, and most people probably don't know who either one of these guys are.
You should know who Ismagulov is.
Oh, he only fought once in the UFC.
Yeah, fair enough. But at least he's the former lightweight champ for M1. At least he fought good guys. His wrestling is way better. His striking is much better. His cardio checks out. He's used to being able to go 5 rounds. His last fight against Gorgies didn't look tired at all at the end of 3. I think he rolls in every sense of the word here. Unless he dives into a submission. You know, it's really important when you look at Joel Alvarez here. Doesn't really have that deep of a background. Like, fought a little bit as an amateur, I think, 6-7 years ago. Turns pro, goes 5-0 in his first 5 fights. Is obviously a submission ace. He takes one singular fight for the M1 organization. He lasts 38 seconds. He took a spinning wheel kick in the face, and that was the end of it. He went back to Spain and put together his current winning streak. Yeah, a lot of submissions, but he's fought a lot of low-level guys. He is not... How does a guy get all the way to 15-1 only having fought outside of Spain the one time? And the one time he did fight outside of Spain, he got fucking smoked. So, because you're comfortable in your own regional scene, you're taking on no-name guys, you're catching them submissions. Could he submit him? Potentially. But I watched tape on this guy, and his takedown defense is real bad. He seems to be more of a striker, and as he's got all these submissions, but trust me on this, when you fight really shitty guys, you don't really go out there and knock them out all the time. Sometimes you go and you just settle with the submission. He's got a lot of triangle chokes and guillotines, and a lot of people will tell you those are fluke submissions, right? You can just catch a guy in a guillotine. You can catch a guy in a triangle choke. They're not the most skilled move. Now, setting up a beautiful triangle choke, setting up a beautiful guillotine, guys that are high level can do it. But if you're let's say you're at the bar and some guy rushed into you, the guillotine is probably the move you're just going to slap on the guy. It happens all the time. As far if you know what a triangle choke is and anybody gets on you, slapping it on is just unbelievably easy. And that's probably what he's doing to a lot of these guys. He's a decent submission grappler, but it looks better on paper. I think he's probably a better striker, and I think he'll probably want to keep it standing with Ismagulov. But Ismagulov's a far better wrestler. He'll take him down. This kid will throw up triangles, as you mentioned. You know, throwing up triangles and arm bars off your back, hell of a task.
Yeah, you're just
guys.
accepting position against these elite wrestlers.
Against a 17-2 former M1 world champion. Like, that ain't easy, man. That ain't easy at all. And then on top of all that, it's like, this is not even a short-nosed opponent, but it's really, we're in Europe. We need a local European fighter that's gonna potentially sell some tickets here, even though it's in Czech Republic. Is Czech Republic still a country? What do you call this country?
It's a country.
Yeah? Okay.
Czech Republic is the country. You're thinking Czechoslovakia.
I'm thinking Czechoslovakia, which is no longer a country.
And then they split up into Slovakia and Czech Republic.
Right, my bad. It's just all these hockey tournaments from so long and watching the two countries.
It's been I think it was 1993, Cody. So
fucking embarrassing. All the same.
Geography with Cody Saftic.
I can name all the flags, but not where most of them are. Demirian Samgulov probably... Yeah, I think he rolls here. I think he takes him down, he smashes him up, potentially gets a finish, but $9,200, tough task. Again, I'm worried about the fact that it's only $250. It's $250. You mean to tell me it's $250 and Prazeres is minus $420? FISHGOLD's a minus $250. Peter Yan, dangerous at $270. I don't know. I feel like compared to those lines, which it's like, man, these are risky. Like, he should roll here. Mm-hmm. So maybe it's going to balloon up. Maybe I see a lot of people parlaying it up because they feel it's safe. But $250, it's like, damn. Either this is like the play of the week, hands down. Like Cron Gracie, like it went off at 270. You know how crazy that is.
I think they opened up like the submission one on that at like
I sat here and
like
I told
minus
you,
130
sat
or
here
something
and I told you,
silly.
If you could specifically get a rear naked choke prop, is that he was going to rear naked choke Bruce Leroy. Money came in on Bruce Leroy late, and it's like it made no sense. This kind of reminds me of that. This could be real easy money, or some could be fucking up. But I think he should smash here.
100%. Actually, talking about Gracie, that leads us into last week's. Are you ready for this?
Oh yeah.
It was a bit of a disaster, but it was an early disaster. So like we had already given up on the dream of crushing our UFC Phoenix Iron Man Challenge lineup pretty early in the show, where Gracie was on it. He was the linchpin, I guess you could say, of the whole squad, and he came through. We had Andrea Lee. I was not in love with that, but like the other options was like Calvillo, and she didn't really do much better. So
I thought she could get the finish, but
yeah, that was bad.
it just
But yeah,
settled in.
This lineup was like so pooched. One, Albu went out there and absolutely shit the bed. I was feeling really uneasy about that fight.
The line
as that line started to move, I was
yeah.
just like, something's up. And you know what? That was a lesson learned. It's just like,
thing.
you know what? You don't necessarily have to move to Whitmire, but it's like when you get those feelings about those types of things, maybe just abandon ship on the fight altogether and pick somebody else because there was something really fishy. I saw nobody, like in terms of our Twitter community and all of that, nobody was betting Whitmire. Like I just didn't see bets going out there, and the line just kept going the other way. It's just like, wait a second. It seems like most money is coming in, or at least most bets that I am seeing in the Twitter community are all going on Albu. Everyone's piling on Albu, and she's like going off as like a almost an underdog by fight time, like reverse line movement. It was really fishy. Knew something was gonna happen, and it was more than I could even imagine in terms of like how easy Whitmire took her down, subbed her, and it's just like right off the bat, first fight of the night, she's like, all right, well, our lineup's pretty screwed in this challenge. Luckily, it's a long year. We had Scott Holtzman. He started to put hands on him and started to put hands on Nick Lentz in like round 3. Lentz just, Lentz fought a very smart fight there. Of fighting at range. He was getting pieced up. He started to really wear it in round 3, especially when he's taking those elbows when they were kind of clinched up against the fence there. Lentz was getting tired, and I didn't think it was a horrible performance by Holtzman, but like he was out wrestled, he was out grappled, and Lentz was just it was a crafty way to get the win. So props to Lentz for that. He was able to withhold, but like we got pretty close. Like Holtzman was starting to put the hands on him. If he had another few minutes, he could have maybe put him away.
I'll tell you something.
So I didn't feel awful about that.
That was to me.
He didn't score very well, but it was what it was.
No, honestly, that's why ring IQ is honestly such a unbelievably important thing.
Yeah.
Nick Lentz was getting beat up by Scott Holtzman. He knew that. And so he would just time out these takedowns or not. Get this guy up against the cage around 2 minutes, 2.5 minutes. He got beat up a little bit in the first. The second and the third both started identically. Him getting beat up in the first half of the round and then getting his opponent down and against the cage the second half of the round. And you know what the judges are going to score? The second half of the round. They weren't looking at the fact that this guy was getting beat up in the first half. They were looking at how it ended. If you flip side to that, look at the Bellator card on the weekend, okay? Vitaly Minakov and Paul Daly both specifically lost their fights because of poor ring IQ. These fucking guys are shooting their takedowns 20 seconds, 30 seconds into the round. These guys are kind of using it in the first half. And in both instances, Michael Page would just get up and just do a little bit for the last minute and a half and win the round. Chai Kongo did fucking nothing. He deserved to win that fight. He honestly did. He did nothing. And then the last 30 seconds, he'd land a couple knees, land a couple punches. That was more than Minakov was doing. You got to be able to realize that the judges, they're dumbasses. They don't remember what happened in the first 2.5 minutes. They're only remembering what is currently happening right fucking now.
Right before the bell.
Holtzman was a better striker. And Holtzman is going to have he's going to have higher upside at this point than Lentz, even though he's a little bit older. He's just fresher. He'll learn how to get off the cage. But Lentz fucking outclassed the shit out of him because he was a smarter guy. He had the little bit better technique, and he knew how to do what he needed to do to get the win. Good win for Lentz, but it hurt Holtzman in his scoring ability.
For sure. Benito Lopez.
His opponent is weighed by 5 pounds. Son of a bitch.
Yeah. But one thing, I've been, I guess, critical of Manny Bermudez. The guy definitely does have some solid submission skills. So I gotta respect that at this point, but it was over pretty quick. So yeah, with Albu Holtzman Lopez, shit was looking real bad. Luckily, our friend Bo, also known as CLV, pointed out that Ngannou, because like by the time I really got around to them, these lines come out so early now, and people are steaming them, and good on them for getting on them early. I'm doing like golf and football and all these other sports and stuff. It's tough for me to like, really get invested into these cards before we talk into it, or before me and you sit down and talk about it, and so on, or the day of. Basically, I'm watching tape and yada yada yada, making boards and all that other stuff.
Steam
so it's like he was at like plus 140. I'm like, I don't want to play that. In hindsight, obviously, plus 140 was completely fine because it was so easy. But Bo pointed out to me that on Bet365, it was plus 225 for Ngannou by knockout or decision. It was some sort of like little glitch in the system. So I hammered that plus 225, Frankie Murder. Like, I didn't expect him to win by decision. It was actually better than like the knockout prop or the inside the distance prop. It was a bit of a mistake on their part. Hammered that. That saved generally my whole night. And it was awesome watching Frankie Murder.
Yeah, I was saved late as well because I was Team Cain Velasquez, but we discussed it.
He looked good. Like, Frankie just looked so confident all week. Frankie looked good all week. Frankie looked confident. When he was walking out, he looked good.
His mouth and start talking about retirement if this fight doesn't go good, and maybe I can beat John Jones. You're fucking a weight class higher than John Jones. Maybe.
It felt very... I haven't said this to anybody. I haven't even said this on the internet.
Awful physically.
It reminded me of Bader versus Anthony Rumble Johnson, where you get a little bit too close into that fire and then you just kind of shell up. Because he got in there. I know his knee
was gone before he.
Sure, but like
that octagon.
It was like he broke that distance. He got inside that distance, and he was not ready for the heat.
Oof, very few guys are.
Now moving forward. Francis Ngannou, if you use plus money against anybody, auto bet. The guy's power is just like, it's a 50-50 proposition against anybody. If Daniel Cormier is minus 175 favorite, I'm getting like plus 140 on Francis Ngannou. You take Ngannou. Yeah. You take him by knockout. Because this guy, if he lands on you, it's a 50-50. Like, the human brain can only take so much. And we have seen that, like, it doesn't take much from Francis Ngannou. Like, he can absolutely smash people. I do worry that somebody is going to be able to withstand the heat early, take him down, but like that's the other half of the proposition, right?
No,
you get Francis Ngannou at plus money. It is auto bet city from now on.
There's no withstanding the heat. There's avoiding the heat and getting him down. Yeah. The fight would happen so fast, but you saw his hips were engaged. He has worked on his wrestling, and he looked like he was adequate. He's able to, just like he did in the first Blades fight. Maybe I get taken down, but if I don't get taken down, I'm going to cause a fucking lot of damage before you are able to neutralize me. And that's what he's able to do. I think it's a tough night for Cain Velasquez, who's done. I know he was talking about coming back. I don't want to see it. I think he's the definition of a shot fighter. And Francis Ngannou, if anybody in the entire world deserves props on that, it's you, Sir Paul Shaughnessy, who did not abandon ship. And... you know, if he fights Miocic tomorrow or Derek Lewis tomorrow, like, yeah, don't make this man plus money because
I will hammer it.
Yeah, he's still a dangerous guy. Honestly,
he seems like it's a big thing. It's like he got beaten up by Stipe. He wasn't used to it. The hype machine kind of got behind him. Everyone kind of started to abandon ship. And then, yeah, as I said on last week's episode, it carried into the Derek Lewis fight. The guy had no confidence. But after that fight, he did come in and he said, like, I lost my confidence. Like, I just couldn't pull the trigger. I felt bad about it. And then we flash forward to the Blades fight. Blades fight, in hindsight, they were trying to screw over Francis Ngannou because they were just like, they're sick of his attitude and all these other things. Dana's tried to sue her. Dana's tried to sue her the guy a couple times. And that was set up for him to probably lose because they were like, well, Blades is, a wrestler, probably an act.
He's young, wrestler, could be a good title challenger.
Could follow the template that Stipe Miocic did. He was able to take his damage for 2 rounds. It's like if Blades has made enough improvements, well, he ends up starching him. And that was a real a massive turning point. He's just like, I'm back. And you could see it. You can see him the way they carried himself all week. Like in all of the interviews, at the weigh-ins, the guy just, he has his confidence back. And that guy with his confidence can beat anybody in the heavyweight division on any given night.
Yeah, I think a big part of it too is people were talking about him, maybe his ego getting to him, is that this is a guy that left his gym in Paris, right? Haute Tension Paris. He left and came down to Vegas and just jumped in the Performance Institute. Didn't really have the same coaching staff, didn't really have the same training partners. And that's when people started saying, this guy's got an attitude. That's when people started saying, oh, this guy's not really training that hard. But he left all that after the Lewis fight. He went back to Paris and he's done this camp in Paris. And some people said, hey man, he's back in Paris. It's like some people you could make, oh geez.
It's like Max Holloway in Hawaii. It's just like, sure, there's better gyms than Gracie Technics, Waialae or whatever.
It's like the lifestyle and the people that you surround yourselves to. And the other thing is
that builds up, the
other thing is you could be like, man, he's got no heavyweight bodies in Paris. It's like, nobody's got heavyweight bodies. You ever been to an MMA gym? You know how many heavyweights there? 1 or 2? And how do you spar these guys? No one's sparring Francis Ngannou. He touches you up, you go down. Most of these guys, you know why Cormier got so good and Velasquez got so good? Because they had each other. But every other heavyweight that has ever fought did not have anybody else, man. They had to do it on their own because that's what happens. You have to train with the lighter weight class
light heavyweights.
Mentally, I think he's right. And I bet you his coaches said, Francis, regarde ça.
We tried to kill.
The fights where you didn't throw your hands, you lost. The fight where you just threw your hands even one fucking time.
It's not rocket science.
Yeah, imagine that. He's going to blades. It's like, I don't know, guys. What if he takes me out? Francis, just go out there and just throw a couple punches. Oh, he folded over. Okay, Kane's going to get me, man. I used to look up to this guy. I used to go on YouTube. Oh, man, he's the man. Francis, he's going to come and get you. Just let your hands go. And when he does that, it yields great success.
100%. And then Stipe's out there. Stipe, trust me, Stipe deserves, if there is such a word as deserves in the world of MMA. But the problem is, I know you beat Francis, but you know what? You beat Francis, and then you lost to DC, and then you haven't done anything. And the rest of the world goes on. And Frankie's out there taking fights against anybody, against Blades, and then taking one against taking against 2 wrestlers that, in theory, should be the kryptonite to what he does. Like, he's out there fighting. So I don't know what they're gonna do. Obviously, they want to do DC.
Stipe's got to chill. And listen,
they want to do DC versus Lesnar, but maybe who knows?
But DC versus Lesnar. It's Lesnar versus anybody. It's a big fight. Sells itself. Whoa. DC versus John Jones 3. That shit sells itself. We got storyline here. Whoa. DC gonna get some revenge for his boy Kane. Those are all great storylines. Yeah. DC versus Stipe. Who gives a fuck? And it hurts me to say that. Because Stipe is my boy. And he's a Croatian guy. But no disrespect in the slightest bit. But nobody on this planet deserves a rematch more than Demetrius Johnson. And it didn't happen. Yeah. And he accepted it. And life goes on. And it, truly, in my opinion, it doesn't seem like it. But Cyborg deserves a fucking rematch, dog. Mm-hmm. But she ain't going to get it. And life goes on. You can't complain. She got smoked out. That's what happens.
You got to get out there and fight.
You got smoked out. You're not above anybody else.
The more that you wait on the sidelines in this situation, like, you actually just kill your momentum altogether. Maybe they set up Ngannou versus Miocic.
You're 100%.
Maybe they set the 2 of them up again. Let Cormier either A, heal up, or B, if they end up getting the Lesnar thing done, get those 2 guys to fight for a quote-unquote interim title fight, just as like all right, whoever wins this is next in line to take on. Like that maybe would be the most fair way to do this, but yeah, you can't just sit on the sidelines in MMA unless you have a massive following like a Conor McGregor. Like, it's a business at the end of the day, and Stipe wasn't selling pay-per-views, and like there's nothing fair about it. But life isn't fair, man. You got to get out there and fight. Like, that's my thought on Stipe Miocic.
Yeah, it's tough because he was a fan favorite.
I like him. He's one of my, like, when he came into our office at Fight Network back in the day, it's like, he's like the most like down to earth, cool, like relatable fighter probably on the roster. Like, he was just like a normal dude.
But now there's people saying he might be a bit of a whiny bitch. Yep. And then just like, that's what you don't want to think of this guy. No. He's one of the greatest heavyweights of all time. He deserves that rematch. But I'm not making the calls. You're not making the calls. Ultimately, we both know
and when they don't,
he's not going to get the immediate rematch. So just fucking let it go already, dude.
But you gotta go out there. Go out there, knock somebody out, make it real definitive, and like they won't be able to ignore you again.
But I'm gonna say this,
and then like get on the mic afterwards and be like, I demand my rematch this time. Like, I came out here, I starched Ngannou. Like, he should be going for that Ngannou fight right now, trying to set that up.
Oh, maybe the 2 most deserving guys of a legitimate UFC title shot in the entire UFC, in my opinion. Everyone's got their own opinion. Dustin Poirier deserves a motherfucking crack at the UFC belt, and Colby Covington deserves a crack at the UFC belt. You love him or hate him, most people hate him. He deserves a shot at the UFC title. They're both pulling the whole, well, cut me then, man. I'm not fighting, man. This is bullshit, man.
Yeah,
You're going to end up sitting on the sideline for a while.
Yeah.
And people will
UFC
forget
don't-
about you. They don't.
UFC does not give.
They don't give a shit
about that.
You have a contract with them stating that you can't fight anywhere else.
Yep.
And you can't, they'll offer you a fight. You'll turn it down because you're mad at them. And then according to the contract, because they offered you a fight and you turn it down, it keeps renewing itself.
Yep.
Because you did not take the fights.
Yep.
Nick Diaz can't go fight nowhere else. You will sit on the fucking sideline and complain for the rest of your days. And it sucks, man, because I honestly think they're both in the prime of their careers and they both deserve title shots, but it's all politics. And the thing is that if you work at a Subway, you're probably thinking they're like, man, fucking politics, man. They fucking don't even give us paid smoke breaks anymore, man. Fuck that. If you're a construction worker, you're like, fucking politics, man. Concrete jerk offs. And you're a pipe fitter, you're like, fucking politics, guys upstairs, fucking us again. And politics is every walk of life. I don't care where you work. If you're unemployed, you're like, fucking politics. Mom's making me pay half the hydro bill. You know what I mean? Like, I don't care who you are, what you do. Politics are some part of your life. And while these guys are professional athletes, and they're dealing with the same thing.
100%. That more or less wraps it up for us this week. Hope you enjoyed the show. I want to thank Cody Saftic breaking down the fights with me. As always, want to thank our main man, Chad, for all the sweet cuts behind the scenes here, setting up things. And Chad's come a very, very long way from not knowing what any of the switching equipment was to being able to bring all of what we offer to you guys and make it come to life. So thanks to Chad. For Chad and Cody, I'm Paul saying goodbye and good luck.
Mayo experience! Experience!